Hey guys, it's me, Waldo2413. I'm here in a live video. It's been a while. So I don't know if I'll have any subscribers or watchers. Didn't post anything. So hopefully we do get a few people jump in, chime in, ask questions. So a few things I'll cover. So far I've got the comm marker sitting right there with a different rotary attachment off of my other laser. Just because the other one I've got that they sent doesn't have enough force, doesn't hold the beer glasses strong enough. So I went with my other one. Theirs is good for smaller, lighter things or things that don't have tapers. There is a taper on the glass, so hopefully I can get this to work. I had to put it at an angle. I don't even know what angle it's sitting at to get to rotate correctly. But it's something I've been working on. I had to make a special fixture for. Hopefully it works. So far my reviews on it, I've been getting more help from another laser company that I haven't even bought one of their lasers. I've been looking at getting one, a CO2 60 watt Galvo, and I have not got the comm marker one yet because I don't make one. But I looked at a few different companies with the CO2. I see I've got a few followers on, so that's good. I got some live people live. But the comm marker company itself, they did send me a replacement part for the broken plexiglass right here. So they did send me a new one after theirs broke. Hey, Marlene, how's it going? So the thing too with the comm marker, with the UV one, you have to use this to see UV light. As you can see, I'm in the way. It glows under. I've got a UV light over there. It glows under the UV. And it has a red dot pointer, but it's just to do the height. It does not do anything with the tracing. So the downside with that is you have to use something else to even see where it's at on the project, or you got to have something like certain glass will give off UV, so that glass right there will give off a UV light, but not all glass does. The nice thing about UV lasers is they mark on pretty much anything. So like plastics, there's not much it won't mark on wood. So here's a wood, which you can use CO2 to do wood tile. The thing is like there is no depth to it. You can set it up where it's just burning it. But the other thing too, the cut of a CO2 or a UV laser, it doesn't burn the edges. So the best thing they're great for too is like patches. You can cut out a patch or a real leather patch, and you will not have the smell of like a diode laser, fiber laser, a CO2 laser. All the smell you get with that, you don't have that when you use a UV. That one's only a 5 watt. They don't make the highest ones I've seen is like a 10 watt. UV works different. Just same thing with fiber versus CO2 versus like a YAG laser. Everything operates at different wavelengths and different zones. So like a piece of glass on a fiber laser, it goes right through it. Now what you can do, and I don't have anything here to show you, but I have samples of it. You can take a piece of stainless steel and put it underneath. Yeah, Clark Shark, Marley, he was the one that actually helped me get my settings. I've got a bunch of videos I got to put out on it. Just because they literally send you, or they don't even really send you it. You can go online on their Facebook page and they post a little settings. But their setting doesn't have glass in it. It doesn't have a lot of the other materials. And then their settings, what they do also on the frequency, it is maxed out at 40 hertz in their downloadable setting. Well, the thing is that that marker, that UV laser, it is set for 30 to 100 on the frequency, on the kilohertz. So they've only got it where you're using like roughly a 10 to 20 hertz window. And some of the stuff, to get like a nicer marking on glass, you have to go up in the higher hertz. And I didn't get it, Clark Shark, he sent me the thing because on his video, they actually gave him more information. They gave him a UV printer, or the UV laser. They didn't give me mine. I bought mine. So I only got the support that I messaged them on their Facebook page. They're about a day behind. Emailing, they do get back a little quicker. It's usually about 8 hours on an email. So it's not bad, but like to get anything done, if you're trying to figure out something quick, the Facebook works good, but they literally commented yesterday and they're like, hey, message us first. Don't post on the forum, which was kind of stupid. Luckily, Clark Shark, he commented and helped me out, gave me some answers that I needed to make sure I got it set up right. Because the stuff that they send you, the manual, which is right here, even how to install the software doesn't really work right. The one thing I will say, they do calibrate for the laser, and they give you the ones that they've done the calibrations on for your laser. So generally, like the focus length for the 150, and they did both lenses that they send you. So mine, like for the 150, it's got 338, and these are left like technically blank, and they write them in themselves. So they do calibrate and give you that. So that's a nice thing about them. Some of the other stuff in the manual, they're not very helpful with. Or like in the back, it's got light burn for Macs or Apples, and they don't have light burn for PCs. So they're not the best in the manual. The other thing too, in the manual, it doesn't tell you what settings to do. Kind of looking at the manual right now, and it doesn't even tell you on the, like, so here's on their wavelength thing too, and they highlight it. But on their settings here, you click that, and they've got maximum frequency 1 to 40 kilohertz. So that is not the range that this one, it can go higher. So that's the other thing about it too, is CommMarker didn't really do that in the manual, and they got it highlighted. So if you put their specs in, you're not getting the best results out of it. And this is coming from what other people said too. Their paper manual too, it's not the best. It's literally like they've got a power percentage that they post. And when you use a UV laser, you don't have a power output. There is no power outputs with them. They are not driven by a power rating. It's the frequency, and it's the Q pulse. You're adjusting a few other things than you would with another laser. So they're not the best support. So the company that I literally have been getting good support from is an online company that I was looking at. They sold a UV laser also. They were about $2 to $3 grand more. So I didn't go with them, but I was looking at their UV laser when I bought this one, and I looked at their CO2 Galvo laser. I think I'll probably, when I do go with one, I will go with theirs, just because they've gave me support on this, and they don't even make it, and they gave me better settings. So they've been very helpful, and I haven't bought one thing from them at all. Haven't done anything, haven't mentioned them. So they've done really good. Some of the things too is the lasers do, it's pretty good. Some things like you can do with other things like on CO2. So you can do tiles on CO2 or a fiber laser actually better and quicker, but it's quicker than like a diode laser. So that will be quicker than a diode laser doing some things like on that. Other Other things are slower. So like if you're marking stainless or whatever, this will do it. If you're trying to do, this won't do really deep cutting on stainless. So if you're going to go with something like a deep cut on stainless, use a fiber laser. Or if you're trying to get like color out of it, this does not do color. Only MOPAs do color. So, and you can heat some things up to get color without, but you're not really using the full range of the frequencies. So you got to have a MOPA to get the colors. But UV doesn't do that. So UV works good on that. It's great for glass. That was one of the major things I got it for, was glasses. And let me take this glass out. And so I got it to do like glasses, and this is an attachment I've made. So I clamp on here. It lets me rotate. You pop it out. I don't know if I'll sell these. It's still in the prototype stage. I've got the shafts where I can change them because it was made for another machine and didn't use it. The cups fit perfectly. You push them in, you hear that little click, holds them, lets you do the rotation. I probably will start making attachments for the different lasers just because there's so many little things that you can use them all for. But this one too, like what I did too, the shaft at the bottom it's hard to see it. It's all 3D printed, but it's keyed in there under a taper. And so I can push it out. So in case I change how I want it to attach in there, it was made for a different laser. So I made a quick one real quick. If I make a production one, I'll probably make it. And I'll probably change the direction that the filament's laid in so that it's stronger. But what you can do is, and this thing's filthy, it's got fingerprints all, but you get a really clear bright white color on glass. Hey, Oscar, how's it going? Good to see you, Oscar. So that's a nice thing. You don't have to, like, so if you're using fiber laser or if you're using a diode laser, you have to paint it with like temporic paint, I believe it's called, to get where it hits that point. Or CO2, you don't have to paint on the glass. The difference is the fracture. Like this, you can rub your hand over and it's smooth. It ain't going to cut you. If you use like CO2, it fractures a lot bigger. What I'm going to try to do, hey, thanks a lot, Oscar. It's been a while. I haven't done a live in a long time. I've been putting out the videos. I've got a bunch filmed. I'm just slowly releasing them when I get time and trying to find stuff that the content before it seemed like it was repetitive and repeating the same thing. Everyone's got DTF, which is still helpful, but it seemed like I was doing a lot of the same videos. So I wanted to kind of took a step back and kind of looking at other stuff. Still do a lot of the other stuff. DTF has took off huge. Everyone and their brother has it or is doing it. It's great. I think it helped the industry a bunch. Just for the simple fact, you can do full color prints for a fraction of the cost now. The downside is that selling like transfers and all that, it makes it super competitive because you got so many people that jumped in, lowballed really quick, dropped the price on the market. They weren't really making money with it, but they were doing it enough where it was hurting the other people. There's people that are doing great, like Rye's striving really good. He's kept his price at a good price. But like you can't just chase it to the bottom, and that's what a lot of these other companies are doing. I've used mine just for my stuff. I quit outsourcing it just because I could only keep up so much for what I needed, and it wasn't worth me outsourcing to other people and worrying about that. So I did that. I do have a head out in it right now. I got to change it. But I've been literally just getting my transfers. I've got a few places I've ordered locally, and I've been buying them from there just because it works just as good. It's cheaper to make them myself, but for that little bit of price, I don't have to worry about the headache, and I don't have to swap the head out right now. And then, like I said, I've been working on other things. I work full-time at the college now also. engineering techs. I help the mechanical engineering students with their projects from freshman to senior year. So I do a lot of that. That's why a lot of the stuff you see like this, we're doing the tumblers and all that for them, or the steins, whatever you want to call it. When they graduate, we give them gifts and all that stuff. And this is one of the things I've been working on for the next year for them on some of my stuff. And so, like I said, and then like I've been 3D printing forever. So like that's the other thing too. Like there's so many things where like now the 3D printing, I think, especially for the people that are doing decorative stuff, like with lasers, fiber lasers, diode lasers, the setup and fixturing, I think, is a huge thing now. It's kind of like having the red dot lasers on the heat press where you can line things up. Fixturing makes it so much easier now. I have a video of we're doing little ratchet wrenches that we did for the students and all that. And so we built a fixture to set them in there. So every time we lasered, it was spot on. And that's the big thing when you're lasering, is you want to be able to reproduce and you want to be able to get it kind of spot on all the time. That's like this. This is something. So like I said, you push the cup in, clicks in, holds it so you can do the rotary. Because what happens is something like this, it is tapered on every side. There isn't a flat spot to put a chuck in. If you use their basic one, there are ways to clamp on the inside. It pushes off. A lot of people put like tape or hose on their teeth. But if you clamp on the bottom, it's hard to get it balanced every time. And you want to be able to make sure it's parallel. The no glass is perfect, and you can see the waves in it as it goes around. So they're inconsistent anyways to use. And so you want to make it as level as you can, as smooth as you can, and repeatable as you can. You'll watch a lot of people. I watched a video yesterday of someone clamping, and they were using the normal clamp, and then you're only working in a certain area anyways. You could go all the way around, but what was happening, you'd watch and it would go like oscillate really bad, is because they didn't have it clamped or fixtured good. It was good enough to do their setting, but certain lasers, like now if you're doing like a tumbler, the focal point on like a Galvo CO2, a Galvo fiber, it's more forgiving on the height. The UV is not forgiving at all. If you're like, even this logo here, I had to change the height multiple times to get it with the rotary without rotating it. So this one was not done with the rotary. We made the rotary to make it where I can wrap them a lot bigger and make longer logos. And so that's where we created some fixtures for. The little shot glasses that I do, we don't rotate them because they're flat. So they look like this. And they're flat for the most part. Like they've got a slight arch, but even this is tricky to get it to do flat on there. But there's ways to do it. There's a slight taper on it. So the fixture for this just holds it at a slight angle to level the top. But for the most part, it's flat in the area you're going to print. The other thing that you can do too, and I don't have one here, we laser the bottom of them also. It adds kind of a unique look and kind of flair, make it something different. You can do the same with these. Like the bottoms are fairly flat, so you're fine on the bottom. But to do anything like the radius of these things, you need to be able to rotate it. And so, like I said, I made the attachment for that. The rotary attachment, you see it's at an angle, and that angle correlates to the slope of this so that it keeps it held at that angle. It's not all the way around. I'm only lasering in this area. That's the only spot I need to laser in. So that's why it's done this way. If I had to go all the way around, I'd have made a different fixture for it. But I only need the logo in a certain area. It's a time thing. I don't want to spend too much time on these, and I want to have a set amount of time I'm lasering them. So I built an attachment. There are different ways to do it. But like I said, the setup is the big thing with the UV lasers to make sure you get the best results and the best outcome possible without having to go back. Like I had to go back on these because it was missing the edge of the radius, and you can set the radius up in like light burn and all that. but with the UV, it still doesn't penetrate that deep because the focal point isn't as great. So you have to raise and lower the head to do that. So to eliminate that, I'm going to rotary to make them where I can go almost double the size on this, and go a little bit bigger. The focal lens on that's 150 by 150, and that is pretty much the limit that you'd ever want to go. Like, you could put a bigger lens on there, 5 watt UV lasers. It wouldn't even really hit the edge at that range if you put like a 175 or a 300 on there, because the power gets dropped off the more it's away. And it's kind of like this right here. So the power is going down. The further away you are, the weaker you are on the power. So the point of that is, if you go much bigger on that low wattage, you're not going to get a good outcome. So you got to keep it in the smaller. So the way to overcome that is you use a rotary attachment. And that's kind of what I'm doing there, is using the rotary on it. And so that's one of the things. Some of the other stuff too is even to reproduce things if you want to make them, because they don't have the best UV lasers, you use the UV light as your trace pattern. So instead of trying to line things up all the time, if you make jigs or fixtures, it makes it good to hold it. Here's some other ones we did for like machining stuff. These are, they're transparent, so it's hard to see things. But it's fixture plates to hold to do left and rights of parts. Here's the other side. Technically, the plates would go together. But like, these holes are designed so that you can set it onto the table. These will line up with the bolt hole patterns, and it lets you hold it so that a part lays flat on here, and then you're able to laser. These are used for the fiber laser, but you're able to fiber laser onto the side to make sure it's perfectly flat and parallel on the section you're working with, so the part's not rocking, because you can see all the height on the parts there. They're all different. So if you try to lay that part flat, you're going to run into issues. So that's what making fixtures are for, is to make sure you get good results on things. I probably will start making more fixtures and selling them. Fixtures are useful for a lot of things, to hold things. Here's a fixture to hold clay pigeons. Clips on there, put it on a pole, and you can shoot and they flip. Here's another one, a different version of it. Just there's multiple things that you can make fixtures for with 3D printing also. And then there's parts, like, so I've showed you guys, I think before, cookie cutters. So this is like a poison apple. But 3D printing, I think, helps a lot of the things in the crafting world, I guess you'd say, because if you're using lasers, 3D printers are great for lasers. Not as much as screen printing. The jigs aren't as important there yet. They are for lining up things, but you wouldn't really 3D print like a shirt lineup. You would laser that or cut it out. But there is markets for the different stuff and the other sides of it, depending on how you're putting it on there, or like registering things, or if you're doing patches. So there's ways to register these parts, line them up, cut them out. There's other things too. Like, so you can do stereolithograph photos. And so let me see if I can get this to light up. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it with all the other light. So this, you can kind of see. The other light's overwhelming it, but there you go. So it's a shark photo, but it's done just because of depth. And so when you see it there, that's all you see. It doesn't really show up good. They're made to be backlit, and they work off of the principle of density of the print material. So the thicker the material is, the more darker it is. And so the darker it is, the more light doesn't travel through. The thinner it is, like in this area here, the light travels through more so that you see through the mouth. And so it makes it where you can see that. So like I've done stuff with like these. These were really good during Christmas time. We did photos. And like I said, they're super thin, so they print really quick. The other thing that 3D printers are great for, I have food freeze dryers. So I freeze dry like Skittles and all that stuff, where everyone does all that stuff and sells it. But the advantage is you can make fixtures to set that stuff up so that you get like the perfect amount of Skittles on there, or you can make dividing brackets so that you're not wasting space or wasting time on things. And so it's good for stuff like that. You just gotta be able to draw. But like I said, if you can think of it, you can make it. Strength wise, it comes down to in my office at work, I have a Rubik's Cube, and what I do is I set that there to show people which way parts are printed. So this part was printed from the ground up. And so it's got end fill, hexagonal end fill at the end. You couldn't see it, but you build a part for strength. So this part, if I was to take and snap it this way, it would break. Its load is built the other direction. So it's strong in the other direction. It's not as strong in that direction. So loading and unloading the parts, it makes it. What I had to do too, the thing is since it was built in that direction, to shorten it, I was able to snap it along the fractured lines. And there you can see it. And here's the end part that I snapped off of it. It was too long and it was hitting in the other part. And because it was built like this, so fractional lines, so that's not the best direction to make something. And that's the thing too about 3D printing. It's understanding where the strength is at, where the weakness is at, which way you need it to be strong, which way you need it to be weak. Because you can't have them both. So you have to design a part to work for what works best for you, to get the best outcome on a part. So like on that part, it works good for the flex, but it also can make it where that will break over time on there. For a photo, you couldn't layer it this way. You would have too much standoffs. And if you have too much standoffs, you like, so depending, and this is something that's printed here, the RoboCop head. So as you get near the top, and it's not going to focus as well, but you'll get layer lines because you're building layers up. So you have to look at which way will give you the best finish that you're looking for. And then you make it that way to make the part fit. Like I said, this was designed, you put a cable in there with the red LED. The red LED comes up through the top, gives you the red lights for RoboCop's head. But it was, like I said, you got to look at which way you want the layers to be built to get the best results or best view on 3D printed parts, or the best strength. Cookie cutters, you're pushing straight down. So you print them this way. If you printed them this way, they would crack along the seam pretty easy. So you have to look at, like I said, what you're making. And so like these two cookie cutters go together. So you cut this out, or you cut this one out first, then you cut this one out. And this one is actually just an imprint, just dimples it. So technically you'd make a cookie that would show the whole apple, and then this would be where you'd put like the icing and all that. So it's a two-tone print. And they kind of play off each other. So like some things you have to factor in which way it's going to be used or not used to get the best strength. I've got a bunch of just like little widgets and all that. I guess you'd say a little clay cutters, cookie cutters, simple things that people would need or work on. And so you just find out what they need and you would design it to work the best. But even in the other realm, like, so for my printer, you use desiccate packs, and there's files out there, or you can make them, but there's this right here. So it unscrews, goes between your coil of the filament. It threads together. So you tighten it up. And when it's in the thing, you actually, the end right here unscrews, and you would put desiccate in there. Then you would screw it back on so that it doesn't come off. And so that would take the moisture out of a coil, or keep it that way. So it's finding uses with 3D printers to make the parts you need also, because like I said, there's 100 ways to make a part, 100 ways to do that. But the thing too that it's helpful too, like I said lately, like with the lasers itself in general. So all the pen blanks, you can flip that rotary attachment vertical. You can put a base on there and turn it to index pens. In the software, that's all it's doing anyways. You tell it how many rotations you want for each thing. So you could do, let's say, 40 pens, and you take the number 360 if you're doing a rotation, divided by whatever number. And then that would tell you the degree angles to make that. But you would make your part to work the way you need. If you're only doing like, and I don't have them sitting here, but if you're doing business cards or even slate tiles, so you could make a fixture to hold multiple tiles to keep indexing them to get more out if you're running a lot of things. It's production wise, that's where I think it's important to have 3D printers or the ability to do that stuff, because then you can make fixtures to make things quicker. People sell them all, and that's good too. There's companies that have established just by making 3D attachments or fixtures for all the stuff. It's a great market. It's something to look into. There's a lot of files online, and then some of it you have to create your own. But it makes it where you can reproduce things over and over. Like I said, this was something, no one has this, no one made it. They're clamping them up a few different ways. I have to do over 100 of these, so I need it to be accurate, quick, and simple. So this is what I came up with. There's 100 ways to do it, though. They're like, you don't have to do it this way. It's just something I came up with, and it holds it tight enough where that, like, I can still turn the cup, but in general, it's not going to slide past it. And that's all I needed. I don't need it to be in a critical area. I went to this point just because I'm not going to go past that point anyways, and it gives me leeway. I'm not doing both sides of this cup where they have to line up perfect. If there is ways to do it, but I'm not doing that. I'm not worried. I'm only doing one side. I could technically pocket the back out. There's about 20 different ways to set it up if I needed to do multiple sides of this. I don't, so I don't set it up that way. But it's something, like I said, where 3D printing, I think, ties in with the crafting industry really well, because setting up jigs, fixtures, I do it all the time. Most things I do, so we had to make some parts that we had to drill holes in. So we made a fixture that the part sat in and told us right where it was, and you just take a center punch and punch all the holes, and you just take it to the drill press, and all your holes are lined up. I think it's very critical. One of the other machines been using a bunch. Super slow, not productive, but it works on glass. And so if you're doing we'll cut anything, it's a water jet. So it doesn't harden the material. So it makes it where you're not weakening it or taking away from it, strengthening it, whatever. And it cuts stuff like glass. Like to cut glass, you have to use brakes, little shears, and chip around it. With the water jet, and I don't have it in front of me, I cut some logos out. You can cut pretty much anything out with the water jet, and you get it perfect. So for stained glass work, it's amazing, because you can get stuff that would take almost 2 to 3 times longer, and all you do is have to put a DXF file in there, or like a vector file. So if you're screen printing, you know what the vector files are. It's the solid image to do like all your negatives for your screens. So it's pretty simple to do, and it's just assigning the water jet to cut that. The print house was talking about it, and I told them I had to do a video. I have a video, I just haven't uploaded it yet. The one I've got, I'm not 100% happy with the water jet. It's a hobby one. It's about 10 grand. So it's pricey, but it's still, their newest one is quicker. It came out after, already got that one, so I didn't really have a choice. But it's very slow. So it's something like a piece of metal. When I could cut a 1/4-inch piece of metal. It takes about an hour to do a tensile strap test thing. Is about this big. So I could plasma it out. I could laser it out. There's 100 ways I could do it quicker. Plasma, though, would add heat. Laser would add heat to it, so it would change the heat of the material. Water jet doesn't. So there are advantages depending on what you're doing. You just got to figure out what machine would work the best. And it's the same thing with lasers. There's fiber lasers, CO2 lasers, diode lasers, UV lasers, infrared lasers. It's finding which one works in the wavelength best that will give you the fastest result that you need to get the best results. And so I think it's critical to look at that. There isn't one that will do it all. So if you're in the market to buy a laser, look at what you want to do. Do you want to do tumblers? Do you want to do wood parts? If you watch the last 2 videos I put out, them were cut with a CO2 laser. The sign here was done with, this is MDF. So I show you guys how to paint MDF. This is stacked up. I cut multiple layers, as you can see. And I created a 3D printed logo. The other one I did also is this one, and we recessed it in to give it a different look. So it's not, the black is raised, the white is not. So they're 2 different looks, 2 different effects. And that's one of the things, like with the laser. You couldn't do this with a Galvo laser because the area it is, this is 18 inches. So you have to pick kind of what kind of work you want to work on to determine what laser would work best for you. This was done CO2. That like glass would be done with a UV. If you're only doing, let's say, etching glass, UV would be the way to go. If you're cutting stuff, CO2 is the way to go. If you're marking metal, fiber or YAG's the way to go. You have to look and see what you plan on doing the most and then find one that works in there. Because like if you put glass underneath a fiber laser, it doesn't see it. It literally shoots right through it because it's not in the same wavelength. It transfers right through it. So you have to find one that works in that wavelength. There are ways too where you can put a piece of stainless behind it. It will hit the stainless and gasify the stainless, relieving it kind of like a sublimation on the back of the glass, and it will deposit that stainless onto the glass. You could never really drink it, but you can do photos and all that with it. It makes it where it probably wouldn't be safe to drink. I'm sure someone could give me a better answer on that, but in general, it's how it's deposited. It's just another way to do it, but that's the only way to mark. But then you get a black mark, and then like, so to try to do a cup, there's no way to get it to do the radius inside or to follow the contour perfect. But it is another way to do glass on there. Temporic paint works also on diode lasers. You can do it on a fiber laser. It's very hard to get it to take and work well to get the mark on there. It's a lot of time. You got to paint, let it dry, hit the right settings. On that, your better bet would be to take it to like a CO2 laser. The downside is CO2 makes major fracture marks in it, which is fine. But if you're trying to do something like thin or something that is fragile, you don't want to use that. You don't want to use the right laser. And then, like I said, I did the backlit LED sign. And I don't know if I published that one or not, but I do have a backlit LED sign I did for Christmas for a friend's grandson. And it says his name, and then we did backlit. So in that video, I show you guys how to cut, paint, and put the LEDs on it to get it to kind of glow and give you an LED look. But like I said, there's millions of ways to do the thing. I think the industry is full of ways to make money. There's not one way to do it. There's 100 ways in any of this stuff, like the printing. DTF opened it up. Like I've got loads of DTF prints sitting here. You can even do like an embroidery look, and it's hard to see it, but it's got like a 3D look to the top. That's some doing, sorry about that. That's doing, taking like a photo of the embroidery, having the thread stitch on there to give you a 3D look. And the color is different on it. So it's finding what will give you the look that you want or need, and working with that. But like I said, DTF, the things like that. I mean, the other thing too is even with leatherette patches, you've got the UV DTF, so you can put that over a leatherette patch. There's a lot of things in the industry now that came out in the last year or two, that make it where it opens up the door to a lot of things, a lot of people. I think it's great because more people can do it. It's less money to enter to do a lot of the stuff. It's more money to get the equipment, but you can get your foot in the door fairly cheap now to buy like prints and all that stuff. And so you can do, like I said, here's some more 3D look. See, the dog is like a 3D embroidered look. That one's the embroidered look too, but you can do that. So you could buy that, put it on a shirt. It's not going to feel raised, but like this was for like a bucket hat. And so it gave us the look that they wanted, and you can do things like that without embroidering or having that digitized. I would still, depending on what it is, you could get it digitized or embroidered, but that gives you the, like I said, the effector look of an embroidery look by doing something like that. And it meets what the customer want. What they had would have been hard to embroider on. The clamping it, fixturing it, because the area it was at, it wouldn't have worked good on that style bucket hat. So that worked kind of best for it. But like I said, I think DTF has improved a bunch. It's helped a bunch. Yeah, that's DTF. Yeah, it's DTF. There's the filament on the back. And all I did was, let me get the light on it again. So all I did was with that is my embroidery software. It does a simulation. So I took the simulation photo and threw it into DTF. So that's one of the things that you can do. 5 feet away, it looks pretty good. You get close, you can obviously see that it's not embroidered. But a few feet away, it gives the look of that. Or what you could do is, like I said, you could put it on a patch to give another depth to it. You can go in. This was a quick one. I didn't use my other. But if you look like on here, for instance, on the red, you can see like the color pattern to give it the 3D effect. It's darker red in here. The shadows are more red. And so that's another thing. That's one thing with like DTF where I think it opened up the market a lot, is you could do effects like that. Not as many have done it because you have to have embroidery digitizing done. But there's places online that will do that for you. Software is fairly cheap to do it also. But you can create stuff like that. You're able to do small batch run with DTF where you couldn't do it before. You'd limit the customer like a one color print, where now we do a lot of the stuff for the organizations and all that. And they're small. They're like 20 in the groups and all that stuff, kind of like this was for the single group. So like we only had like 10 polo shirts that were done. And so to have it digitized, embroidered and all that, and then some of them wanted on a t-shirt, which embroidering the t-shirt is a weird look or feel on, doesn't go the best. So when you do something like that, you can give them the look for the cheaper print, and you're able to do the colors. Like if you were screen printing that, you couldn't do the 3D effect because you would need multiple colors to get the depth. When you DTF it, it doesn't matter. So that patch right there is less than $1 to make. So you could put that on a shirt, hat, whatever. And the cost of the profit margins are great because now you gave someone a multicolor print compared to a single color print. More colors some people want. The biggest thing I do see, though, is people not always dropping out background colors. I see it a lot. There's a local customer or shop competition, I guess you'd say, which is nice that they don't, because it makes it more productive for me. But it seems like they'll print it for a black shirt, and they'll have black over it. So it's a solid sheet transfer instead of deleting the background color if it's the same as the shirt. Which they do it that way so that they can put it on different color shirts to save them money. But the thing with DTF, you can print them for the black shirt, for the white shirt. And so you don't have to have the other stuff there if you don't need it. So I think the biggest thing now it's coming into is like the prep of the artwork, of how creative you can get to make it look good. Yeah, and that's what it is that's what does make it bad, is that they're not deleting the background. So like the dog here, they would have had it filled in with like white or whatever, or they would have done it a perfect example. Like, so this one was for a gray shirt, but if I was to put this on a black shirt, I would just outline the black and I wouldn't print the black. They would print the black and leave it there, which means it's more rough feeling. And that's the big thing with DTF, is you want as much open area as you can to give it a better screen print feel. You don't want that bulletproof blob feel, because no matter what print, and like this was done DTF long time ago, if you guys remember, I've screen printed these also, but I didn't print the distressed parts in the middle. This is all very small fractures in there. And so by doing that, it feels like a screen print or softer. It feels like almost like a water-based print. DTF is water-based. And so that's the big thing, is like knowing the setup. And like you said, they should remove the background, and you're right. And that's what it is some of the people that are popping up doing it, they don't know the difference. So it makes it where, as long as you know the stuff or the right way to do it, there's more money, there's more profit for you to be made, because I don't mind competition. Competition drives industry. It can drive prices the wrong way. And that's the stuff too, that people ask me like, hey, what do you do when that happens? I've got my set prices. I don't sway from them much, because I know my quality and I know my customer, and there will be shops that pop up and come and go throughout the time that I've been in business. So don't ever worry if you're one of the higher price people that you're overpriced, because there's people that are starting out that will lowball. And I say it this way, like, it's the grandmother effect. So in embroidery, a lot of them will have like a little desktop embroidery machine where they got to change the colors and all that. But like when I even did the embroidery a lot, I would have people call and be like, hey, I seen some lady on Facebook and she said she'll do it for $2. And I'm like, well, it's not even worth my time, the digitizing fee. And they're like, well, we've got to use her font. And you'd message, and her price was $2, but it was a grandmother that wasn't adding overhead because she lives in her house. The machine was already paid for. It was a couple $100. It was limited what they could do, and which is fine. It's fine for her to do that. But if you ever want to scale, you have to have your prices so that it's scalable. You can't say, okay, I'm going to charge 20 cents to laser this, and then someone buy $1 million, and then they expect a lower price, and you not be able to lower the price because the glass is 70 something cents. So you have to be able to have your prices so that from 1 to $1 million, there's a scale range in there that you can offer the client when you're scaling your pricing. And what a lot of them do too is they'll jump in the industry, like with DTF was the hugest thing this year. People came into the industry with DTF. And like I said, you guys that follow me know I've had DTF when they first started the machines 4 years ago or so. The market was up here on price, and then it came down to here, and now it's slowly coming back up. Rye will tell you too. The market, there were people lowballing just to get the business, which is fine. But what happens is once they run out giving the sales, they're not getting repeat customers. If they offered, let's say, 10 cents a transfer, and then they went up to $1, people won't go back. So it's nice to get them deals, but you've got to find a set price where that you can, or if you're going to do the sales to get started out, which is perfectly fine also, let them know that was just an introductory sale price, a one-time price only, so that when you go back to a normal price, they don't leave. Because that's what will happen too, is people will price here, and then someone will leave and they'll be like, oh, no, I got to get them back. So they'll lower their price or they'll give a lower thing. And they might not understand that the roll of film went up $10 a roll. And so it makes it, let's say, 10 more cents for every transfer they make. And so that 10 cents might not be a lot, but if you are right on the borderline of the profit margins, then it just puts you in the negative. And that's what happens with a lot. Like I've always said, there's shops that open and close all the time. It's kind of like when, and I still run the deals, the $5 one print, one location thing, but I have a set minimum shirt so that I'm making it back for the cost of the screen and all that. But you can't give someone a 8-color print at $5 and them only buy 10 shirts. You're not going to make money on that because the cost of screens. It sounds great and that customer will be happy, but then when he comes back next time and he wants 5, now you're even worse off. And like I said, or you find out too, because so many people got in where the industry is over flooded with DTF in a way. And so people are buying DTF machines, not knowing how to drop the background out correct, not knowing how to do the color matching, and so like people are getting product and they're not as happy with it. Or they see it and they're like, wow, it feels all rough because someone didn't drop it out. Because like if you don't delete the background, and like some things you can't get away from, you have to leave. Like on this, going on the gray shirt, I need all 3 colors because it's on a gray shirt, or gray polo. But if it was going on a red shirt, I wouldn't print the red. It's a waste of color for one, but it's all that more area that you can make a smoother feel with it. And so the more that you can get that soft feel, the more it's going to feel like a screen print. DTF is soft, depending which ones you're going with, what films, what powders, but there always will have that slight feel that between plastisol, water-based screen print, and DTF, there's a feel difference. The more openings you have, the softer it feels, the better you can make it feel. The other thing I use a bunch too is that I went, and I still do the companies that I've been dealing with, the paper company and all that, where we do the left chest. We've gotten into using the 1-color transfers a lot, just because it's easier. I already have them cut, set up, ready to go. And what they've been doing too is they've been ordering more shirts, or ordering more times, but they're ordering smaller numbers of shirts. So before they might order once a month or every 2 to 3 months and buy 300 to 400 shirts at a time. Now they're calling every 2 weeks and like, hey, we need 5 or 10. And we're locked in at a set pricing with them. So as long as they buy so many per year, we keep that price. If they don't hit the numbers, we increase it the next year. Is how we've always had it, the kind of a contract with them. They've always kind of hit the numbers. So it's one of the things that they're buying more even throughout the year. They're just buying them in smaller amounts, but they're buying them more each time. So instead of ordering every month to 2 months or even 3 months out, they're buying every 2 to 3 weeks, but they're buying smaller batches of them. Instead of buying to 300, they might buy 20 to 30. And so it adds up. So to set the screen up each time to do the one print, it's easier to use that transfer there. It's a 15-cent transfer, but it's gang sheet. So I've got like a penny in each transfer. So it's the same price as it would screen printing. It's 1 color, as you guys remember. So some of it is worth doing that. You just have to look at what's the best option. At the end of the day, it's numbers. You factor in, is it better to screen print, DTF, 1 color transfer, and you factor it in, and then you see what's the most profit margin for you for that method. Most customers can't tell the difference. And that being said, it's, like I said, DTF, it can if you're not used to it. If it's a transfer where someone printed, like where I call the Walmart transfers with the water jet print, yeah, you're going to feel that because that's super thick. Or heat transfer vinyl, that's got a slightly different feel too, the thickness. That's more people relate to kind of the jersey style for the football jersey name and number on the back. That's what they relate to it as. But most people in general, they don't ask what it is. They just need a shirt or a product done, and they don't care how it is as long as it holds up, meets what they're looking for, and it's a good price. And they're happy with the price. So what it is, it's you have to look at what's out there. You have to weigh the cost of all the methods and processes and say, hey, am I better to DTF this? Am I better to do it this way? Like I said, like on these logos here, they wanted multiple colors. So to screen print 5 or 10 shirts at a time, up to 20. I could have done it to register, but like they order throughout the year, and they're small group orders. So that was like a no-brainer to DTF that. The embroidery cost to digitize it. They didn't want the embroidery on t-shirts. They wanted it on the polos only. So like the option with that was to give it the 3D look so that it came out that way. But like I said, you have to look at and determine which way. I do a lot of one-off things for the departments and all that too. And so they're wanting like multiple colors, but they're only needing like 2 or 3 because it's for this person or that person, its name and all that on it. So you price accordingly, but you're able to give someone a more full color image by using the DTF stuff than you would trying to set up screens to do it. I still have my screen press. I will probably always have it because costs on something like that and speed when you are doing the bigger orders, it's hard to beat. That being said, though, the market, at least in my area, the factories still order their things, but it's even made a shift now where they're ordering, like I said, more shirts, less quantity per order, though, in batches. So it's on that, like I will screen print if it's big enough. If not, I'm going to just throw the heat press if it's the polo ones that we do, because the polo ones too, the markups on it, great. It's 20 to 25 for the polos. We're buying them for right around $8 for the polo. So great markup. So for that, they're not buying, like it's only for the team leaders that get the polos. So on something like that, you're only doing 5 polos because they give them 5 per year. So on that, it's not even worth setting up the screen press. It's easier to use the transfer on that. So like I said, you just have to look, pick and choose what method is going to give you the most profit, quickest turnaround, and fastest time for you to get more time to do other work that you can work on. Like I said, so DTF opened up. The DTF UV printers are amazing. The colors that, like, so you can do stickers and print on the outside of glass and all that. It holds on there. It's like pretty like resistant to a lot of things. Holds up in dishwashing and all that. Holds up on other things. I don't think it totally replaces sublimation because that falls in another market depending what you're sublimating. There's some things that you just could never get the same effect. And so like there's a market for every little thing. Like I said, like the UV printers, the sublimation printers, there's markets for all of it. They do have the UV sublimate or the UV printers that can print on tumblers now where you can load them in and it can print the same as you could. The downside with that, though, like as everyone knows, a sublimation printer, you can convert one for less than $200. The printer that does the UV that does the tumblers starts at right around $20,000 to $30,000. So is it cost effective if you're starting out to go buy a $20,000 printer? Probably not. So the best thing is to like find what works for you, find what hits the market you need, find that what does the best. There's loads of people now. I'd love to have a UV DTF printer, but they are too pricey for what they do. Yeah, and that was my point too, because like they're great, they're awesome, but the cost is they're the same as like a full-size DTF that I have, and the amount that I would use it, I wouldn't use it enough. What I've done now is I even on that part, that's one of the things I sub out. So if I need the UV DTF prints, I order them online, have them shipped to me. And so I'm still getting the product. I'm giving the customer kind of what they need or want, and I'm able to do that. But it's the market too, where you've got to find what you're going to do enough. Because like if you're only doing, let's say, 10 UV prints a year for like the DTF on the sticker method or the tumbler method, $10,000 to $20,000 isn't worth it. It's easier just to sub it out. I don't turn that work away. I just will sub that product out because like Ronnie on here from Primal, she does the DTF. You can get them from her. There's a bunch of places. I haven't used her in forever. I use other places that are local, so it's a quicker turnaround for me. But there are other places like hers. Thought I had one of her things here, but she does it also. And so like there's places where people do that full time, so it works great on that. And that's one of the things too that I'm seeing a lot now. So the people that either went DTF prints, they're going to UV DTF now, or they're picking and choosing and going that route. Like, so if you're a sticker person to begin with, you're probably going to go the UV DTF print stuff. If you only do a handful of prints or stickers, it's not worth it. It's kind of like the roll-in printer. The roll-in printer is great to get your foot in the door for sublimate or solvent ink prints. It's not the fastest print, as everyone knows, but for the price of that printer, it's less than right around $5,000. It's hard to beat it for what it is. It's only 24-inch wide. You're limited on a lot of things, but you can make stickers. You can do a lot with it for the cost of it. Is it worth jumping in and buying like my Momaki? That's $18,000. The UV Momaki's $30-something thousand. Is it worth that? No, not if you're not doing enough stickers. It's worth going with the Rollin. The Rollin will do what you need. The cut contour is super slow. Rye will tell you. The Print House will tell you. But like the Print House, he's also got another vinyl cutter. A lot of people that's in this already have vinyl cutters that can read registration points. So if you do, you can print on there, take them out, laminate them, and run them on your other vinyl cutter. Or you can even make them and trim them down and put the registration marks to run on a Silhouette or a Cricut. So if you have one of them, they would still contour cut quicker than the Rollin would. So there's them other options that way if you're doing that. But like I said, if you're only doing a few thousand stickers a year, it's not worth going in buying a $20,000 sticker machine. Buy one. I've always looked at it. Buy what you can afford and then grow into the next thing as you go. If you can afford the one and you've got the overhead, money, and the spend, do it. If not, I wouldn't go. It's like when people ask, hey, starting out, what should I get? Get what you can afford so that you can start. That's the most important thing, I think. There's no need like to go buy a UV fiber laser to do one glass, and if that's all you're going to do is one. I have other stuff we're doing with it. I would never suggest that. If you're wanting to cut stuff and you're like, what's the best laser to do the cutting and all that? Your entry-level CO2, the Ohmtex and all that stuff work great for that. It's hard to beat that. Speed-wise, they're limited. That's why, like, if you watch like Mike, he'll tell you he's got a gantry, or he's got the gantry one, the Ohmtech. He's also got a Galvo CO2. And the CO2 that he's using, and if you watch his video, it's about a month or two ago. So he did it's a Bible thing that they hand out at his church. And so he cuts them out on the CO2 or on the gantry, because you couldn't cut with the Galvo or get good edges on it. So he cuts them out on there, but the print time was almost 3 times faster on the Galvo just to engrave it. So if you're just engraving it, the Galvo would be the way to go. If you're wanting to print cut, the gantry is the way to go. So like I said, it's kind of, you've got to look and choose what you're doing. The other thing too on Galvos, you're limited on size. You can buy different lenses that will open up the angle, but as it's doing, you're getting kerf and all that if you're trying to cut, so the beam doesn't come straight down. So you have to find what you're wanting to do to get the best results. Like I said, and there's on the lasers each, like, so if you're wanting to work on metal, fiber is the way to go. And all around marking on the lasers are UV, but that's marking. It's not cutting or engraving. Can you cut stuff? Yes. You can cut the leather and all that on there. You can cut MDF. It's not really made to cut the MDF or the wood. But it marks really well. Like Apple on your iPods or earpods, buds and all that. That stuff is, and I don't have anything, but like phones and all that, that's what they're done with the UV because it doesn't heat up the material. It's focused and there's not much heat with it. So it does it that way. So like I said, you have to find what material that you're working with to determine what the best process would be. And like I said, everything is different. So like if you're wanting to, like I said, cut, that's the way. Same thing in the printing side. If you're going to do one color prints all day long, that's all you're going to do, you could order transfers, which that's the cheapest way to get your foot in the door, is get a heat press and buy transfers. If you're wanting to screen print them or have the option to, let's say, expand, screen printing them is the way to go. If you're going to do multicolored, like 8-colored, you can screen print them, but anyone will tell you, like the perfect example where I got rid of his big press. To register multiple colors, so like if you were doing like a 6-color print, the time to register and all that compared to printing a DTF is insane, especially for a low run product. So look at what you plan on doing and then buy according that way. Embroidery is the same thing. You can do it all day long with one color. If your only thing is, if you own an embroidery shop and that's all you do is embroidery, you're going to more than likely probably have multiple machines, multiple head machines, because you're going to go through more stuff. You're going to be doing like baby names and all that. And there's channels online here that you'll see that where they've got multiple machines. You have to, like I said, determine on what you want to do. Is if you're full-blown embroidery, buy the embroidery stuff. If you're doing a little of everything, I wouldn't go out and buy a 10-head embroidery machine if you've never embroidered. Embroidery is probably one of the trickiest, hardest things to learn for all the tensions and all that stuff. It makes it very hard to get it all adjusted, calibrated. It's hard to digitize all the artwork for it. I still send most of my stuff out. I have the software, but I send it out and let someone do that. Time is money to me. If I can send it out and pay $5 or $10 and have someone digitize, I've got a link down below of who I use. But if I can spend $5, $10 to have something digitized, where it would take me, let's say, 2 hours to digitize, my time is money. So $5, that's saying, so if I work 2 hours, that's saying my hourly rate would be $2.50 an hour to digitize that. I think my time's worth more than that. So I'm going to send it out. But it's one of them things, determine what your time's worth and factor things that way. I don't do that much embroidery, so like my dual head does what I need. There are people that do, like I said, full-blown embroidery. They're going to need bigger setups. So like I said, it's figuring out what you need. There's people online that literally all they do is laser products for people. And if you look at their thing, they've got 10 and 20. It's same thing with 3D printing. Here I got one printer. I've gave 4 printers away this year. I'm not online, but to local people. I do have a total of like 6 other printers in another location, kind of my little print farm. I don't have more. There's other people online that if you watch, it's got 20, 30 printers, which depending what you're doing, if you're making the little toys that they do and sell, that works great. I don't do that. I don't go to the craft fairs. So to me, I don't print that way. What I do is make stuff like the jigs or fixtures or things that I need for me, or that are stuff that I know people I need in this area need something made, fixtures, jigs. So I'm doing it that way. The jigs that I will be making and probably selling will be like specific for more or less the components I make, kind of like this right here, because I need it for me. So I'll make something that I'm making or using, but I'm not going to necessarily make an attachment for something that I don't have or don't print or use. It just wouldn't be cost effective for me to spend the time to design it to do that. But if there's a market for it, or if multiple people needed it, I would. But like, it's one of the things, like I said, you got to pick and choose where you make your money and where you spend your time. To design one fixture, and let's say you only sold one, you could have 2-3 hours. You could have a week in designing it, depending what you're doing with the fixture or how accurate you need it to be, what you need it to do. To get the fit on this was like the 3rd or 4th test to get it to snap in and do that little click lock that you hear where it snaps in there. So it took a few tries. Print time on this was not super quick. Like I could have made it quicker, but I ran it like a standard setting, so it was 2-3 hours to run it. So that right there alone, to do 3 of them, I was at like a day or 2 days total time because I'm not sitting at the machine every day printing it, just to get the fit right. And so like if you're making fixtures, you've got to spend that time to make sure it does what you need. So it's one of the things that if you're not using that part a lot, it's not always necessarily to make fixtures. Like I see online people making loads of fixtures, selling them. I've ordered some in to see how they look or work. Some worked great. Some they didn't spend that extra time, like a good example, like I did, to make sure it fit how I needed. It worked, but it didn't work as good as I would have liked. So like I didn't use their fixtures anymore. I ended up looking at it, modifying it, or some of them are like simple, not totally simple, but some of them are stuff where I can redraw fairly easy because this is all on a Z-axis base. So once I got the profile correct on one pocket, they're all the same. So I scaled them accordingly. And then I built it up or down to get the fit how I needed it to fit. If one wasn't touching and I put 3 pieces on, I would see the difference and raise just this platform. But like you have to look and determine if you are making fixtures, what fixtures that you're going to make. If you're good at like SolidWorks or Fusion, them are the ones I use SolidWorks, but Fusion's the other one I've used a little bit. But depending on what you're drawing in, some things you can draw really quick. Other things, when you get really complicated fixtures, it's hard to draw that. So it's some things aren't and that's why when even that sample I got in, or the one I bought from the other person, his one fixture, that's why it was made the way it was, because he wasn't that good of drawing on it, or sketch person, drawer, whatever you want to call it, modeler. And so it only fit a certain way. To make parts fit really good, you got to spend more time with it. Some people are really quick. At school, I've got some of the students that when they're working on a project, I've seen them sketch things 4 or 5 times in the amount of time that it would take me to do one. They're that quick at drawing or understanding the software. So if you're quick, you can do that. If not, it takes a lot more time to make sure that the fit and function. The prints too, like I use Bamboo, I use an X1 carbon, and I use P1Ps. The accuracy on them are really good. There's in their newest version of Bamboo Labs, they've got a way where you can actually measure one part so that you get the right scaling every time on it. So it makes it better that way. If not, like on some of the other printers, like Artilleries and all that, some of them heat up a little bit different. So the part's going to print different on that than it would on my Bamboo. So it's knowing your equipment. Also, like I know my printers, I know the filament. A lot of people are always swapping filaments. I stick to I usually use Sunlu or Bamboo Labs filament. That's the only 2 I normally use. They work good for me. They do what I need done at the end. The results are good. So there's no need to switch. Other people will go through multiple filaments or try different filaments, or they want certain colors. Most of mine, I don't really care about colors. As you see, some of this pink, red. I've got purple parts. I've got an orange part right there. I wasn't really making parts per se for color. I was doing for function. So to me, my parts, I needed strength in it, so I would go with different material, or I need repeatability, so the filament doesn't break. It gives me the same. And what I mean break is some filaments dries out, and I don't have any filament laying around here, but you can take and snap it where moisture gets to it. Filament absorbs moisture really bad. PLA does anyways. So it's very brittle. Different filaments got different things in it that make it a little bit better or worse. So the filament I use, I know my outcomes and I know how it works. I have tried other ones. Some stuff works great.
I've got different batches of other stuff, and it's like their one batch was good, their other one wasn't. So I stick to the ones I use all the time. My AMS on the Bamboo, if I'm using the AMS, I usually will use their stuff because it's got the code reader, so it lines up with it. It tells it what it is. You don't really need that, but it makes it nice. Like I said, but them are the brands I use and ones I stick with. I've been on here about an hour and 15 minutes. So thank you for everyone that came on and chatted and said hi. And it means a lot to me. Glad to be back. Hopefully I'll have some more videos coming out soon. If there's anything you guys would like to see, let me know. Leave it down in the description below. I'll try to make videos on it. If you got any questions, leave them down below. Let me know. Thank you guys for stopping in. Thank you guys for participating. Means a lot to me again. Please like, if you haven't subscribed, please like, subscribe, and follow. Trying to get all my numbers back up again. Man, I'll try to make more videos on stuff that hopefully you guys like to see or helps you guys out. Like I said, it's trying to do a bunch of different things. Thank you guys again for supporting the channel and subscribing. If you haven't gave the video a thumbs up, thanks again, guys, and I'm out.